Welcome back. Quickly taking you through three other states and how they are performing in this special report that we are bringing to you, the Times Outbreak Report in association with Protivity. As far as West Bengal is concerned, it is supposed to see a peak in its cases by June 30th, with 7,000 cases being reported, and then it will begin to see a good sharp decline. By about July end, the active cases will actually fall to 1,281. So that's the graph as far as West Bengal is concerned. But I want to talk specifically about two states, Telangana, where there has been a problem in terms of available healthcare infrastructure. Even in the city of Hyderabad, number of places where you can get yourself tested or treated, though the government has recently changed some of those norms. Telangana is likely to see a peak by end of this month itself. By June 30th, it is projected to report 3,200 cases. And then by end of July, actually, the projection is that it actually sees less than 100 cases. So that's interesting, and perhaps it will be one of those states to hit almost zero, no COVID cases sooner than the others. A lot of this, of course, it comes from Hyderabad and not really other cities. And one interesting state that I must mention, the state that has outperformed everybody else pretty much for several weeks now, is Karnataka, where Karnataka is set to peak by June 23rd itself. So perhaps the first to do so, and we'll see about 3,663 cases. And then the downward trend will actually continue to 725 cases by July 15th, and pretty much coming to around 35 cases by end of July. Let's understand what is it that Karnataka really did differently. And I've got Dhanya Rajendran of the News Minute joining us with her insights. Dhanya, this should be perhaps a case study for every other state. I mean, maybe too late for them to implement what Karnataka did in the early days, but how did they manage to keep their numbers so low?
Well, Karnataka really had a multi-pronged approach. First is that they used technology to their benefit. They, of course, had good contact tracing. And in a city like Bangalore, which initially had all the international passengers coming in, considering that in the first week itself, we had a couple of cases here. People in the city also knew the importance of quarantining, of home quarantine, and also of not stepping out. The lockdown, I would say, since I live in Bangalore city, I understand how difficult it is for the police in a large city like Bangalore to actually impose the lockdown, but they did it quite well. In fact, all the weeks of the lockdown, Bangalore had minimal traffic. People were not stepping out unless it was very necessary. The same is not the case in a place like Chennai, where we continuously see visuals of people crowding markets. So Bangalore, I think the administration and the people of the city all came together to and understood the importance of quarantining and contact tracing. In other districts too, I think like Mysore, Bidar, other places, whenever there were small clusters which broke out, the district administration did everything it can to quarantine those people and to ensure that proper contact tracing is done.
That's as far as Karnataka is concerned. The other aspect, of course, Dhanya, is the way it's opening up now. Even there, they've shown quite a bit of caution, though they keep changing their policy. Even for people who are traveling from other states, the policy changes very frequently. Why is that happening? The number of quarantine days, institution quarantine or otherwise, that changes very frequently in Karnataka.
Well, that also depends, Tanvi, really on what is the number of cases being reported by the other states. For example, the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been seeing continuously people coming in from Maharashtra testing positive after they come to Karnataka. We've also seen a small amount of people coming from Tamil Nadu and Kerala also testing positive. So depending upon how many people are coming in from those states and how many of them are turning positive, are testing positive, the state keeps changing its strategy. And also let's remember that 66% of hospital beds in Karnataka are concentrated in the south and central districts of the state. If you take the northern districts like Yadagiri, Bidar, etc., which have a considerable number of cases, they have only around 22 to 23% of the entire hospital bed count. So Karnataka has to ensure that cases do not spike in the northern districts. which it has been seeing in the last few days. So it's important for the state to really put in all its resources, see that people are put in quarantine in these districts properly. Or if the numbers surge, then it will become very difficult for Karnataka because, as I said, the number of hospital beds are not equitably distributed in the state.
All right, Danya, thanks so much for joining us. I'm unfortunately completely out of time, and we are also standing by for a possible, speech coming in from Prime Minister Modi. His address to the all parties meeting that is likely to be broadcast any time now. But viewers, this is what we've been projecting for several weeks, and I just want to very quickly tell our viewers how the Productivity Times outbreak report has been completely on the dot, on the mark, with 96% accuracy. And we've actually done the comparative analysis. The projections we made on our report that came on May 10th and the one subsequently after that, if you see, by the time we reached those dates, the cases were actually pretty much on the same lines as we had projected. So it's not a projection that we make today that goes wrong or goes haywire 4 days later or even 2 weeks later. We are actually pretty much moving in the same direction, reporting similar number of cases in most of the states as we had projected. And we will continue to do that. Thank you for joining us. Let's cut across to the address that Prime Minister Modi made.
वह बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है। हम सभी देश की सीमाओं की रक्षा में दिन रात लगे हमारे वीर जवानों के साथ चट्टान की तरह खड़े हैं। उनकी वीरता, उनके कौशल, उनकी सूझबूझ पर देश अटूट विश्वास रखता है। इस सर्वदलीय बैठक के माध्यम से मैं शहीदों के परिवारों को भी विश्वास दिलाता हूं कि पूरा देश उनके साथ है, पूरा देश उन्हें नमन करता है। साथियों, पूर्वी लद्दाख में जो हुआ उसको लेकर आपने रक्षा मंत्री जी और विदेश मंत्री जी को सुना भी और प्रेजेंटेशन को भी देखा। न वहां कोई हमारी सीमा में घुस आया है, न ही कोई घुसा हुआ है, न ही हमारी कोई पोस्ट किसी दूसरे के कब्जे में है। लद्दाख में हमारे 20 जाबाज शहीद हुए, लेकिन जिन्होंने भारत माता की तरफ आंख उठाकर देखा था, उन्हें वो सबक सिखा कर गए हैं। उनका ये शौर्य, ये बलिदान हमेशा हर भारतीय के मन में अमिट रहेगा। साथियों, निश्चित तौर पर चीन द्वारा एलएसी पर जो किया गया है, उससे पूरा देश आहत है, आक्रोशित है। ये भावना हमारी इस चर्चा के दौरान भी आप सबके माध्यम से बार बार प्रकट हुई है। मैं आपको भी आश्वस्त कर रहा हूं कि हमारी सेना देश की रक्षा के लिए कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ रही है। डिप्लॉयमेंट हो, एक्शन हो, काउंटर एक्शन हो, जल थल नभ में हमारी सेनाओं को देश की रक्षा के लिए जो करना है वो कर रही है। आज हमारे पास ये कैपेबिलिटी है कि कोई भी हमारी 1 इंच जमीन की तरफ आंख उठाकर भी नहीं देख सकता। आज भारत की सेनाएं हर सेक्टर में एक साथ मूव करने में पूरी तरह सक्षम है। ऐसे में हमने जहां एक तरफ सेना को अपने स्तर पर उचित कदम उठाने की छूट दी है, वहीं दूसरी तरफ डिप्लोमेटिक माध्यमों से भी चीन को अपनी बात दो टूक स्पष्ट कर दी है। भारत पीस और फ्रेंडशिप चाहता है, लेकिन अपनी सॉवरेनिटी की रक्षा हमारे लिए सर्वोपरि है और आप सबने भी इसी भाव को प्रकट किया है। साथियों, बीते 5 वर्षों में देश ने अपनी सीमाओं को सुरक्षित करने के लिए बॉर्डर एरिया में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट को प्राथमिकता दी है। हमारी सेनाओं की दूसरी आवश्यकताओं जैसे फाइटर प्लेन्स, आधुनिक हेलीकॉप्टर, मिसाइल डिफेंस सिस्टम आदि पर भी हमने बहुत बल दिया है। नए बने हुए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की वजह से खासकर एलएसी में अब हमारी पेट्रोलिंग की कैपेसिटी भी बढ़ गई है। पेट्रोलिंग बढ़ने की वजह से अब सतर्कता बढ़ी है और एलएसी पर हो रही गतिविधियों के बारे में भी समय पर पता चल रहा है। जिन क्षेत्रों पर पहले बहुत नजर नहीं रहती थी, अब वहां भी हमारे जवान अच्छी तरह से मॉनिटर कर पा रहे हैं, रिस्पॉन्ड भी कर पा रहे हैं। अब तक जिनको कोई पूछता नहीं था, कोई रोकता टोकता नहीं था, अब हमारे जवान डगर डगर पर उन्हें रोकते हैं, उन्हें टोकते हैं। बेहतर हो रहे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर से एक मदद ये भी मिली है कि हमारे जवान जो उस कठिन परिस्थिति में वहां तैनात रहते हैं, उन्हें साजो सामान पहुंचाने में आसानी हुई है। साथियों, राष्ट्रहित, देशवासियों का हित हमेशा हम सभी की सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता रही है। चाहे ट्रेड हो, कनेक्टिविटी हो, काउंटर टेररिज्म हो, भारत ने कभी किसी बाहरी दबाव को स्वीकार नहीं किया है। राष्ट्रीय सुरक्षा के लिए जो भी जरूरी कार्य है, जो भी जरूरी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण है, उसे इसी तरह तेज गति से आगे भी किया जाता रहेगा। मैं आप सभी को, सभी राजनीतिक दलों को फिर से आश्वस्त करता हूं कि हमारी सेनाएं सीमाओं की रक्षा करने में पूरी तरह सक्षम है। हमने उन्हें यथोचित कार्रवाई के लिए पूरी छूट दी हुई है। आप सभी ने इस बैठक के लिए अपना समय दिया, अपने मूल्यवान सुझाव दिए। इसके लिए मैं सभी दलों का, आप सभी नेतृत्वगण का हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं और आपके सुझाव आगे की रणनीति में बहुत लाभकर्ता होंगे, ये मुझे पूरा विश्वास है। मैं फिर एक बार इस एकता का संदेश देने में आप जो बढ़ चढ़ करके आगे आए हैं, वे सेना का मोरल तो बढ़ाएगा, देश के लोगों की हिम्मत बढ़ाएगा, लेकिन दुनिया को भी जो संदेश जाना चाहिए वो पहुंचेगा। और इसलिए आज की मीटिंग में आपकी सकारात्मक भूमिका का बहुत मूल्य है, उसका बहुत ऐतिहासिक महत्व है। और इसलिए भी आप सभी अभिनंदन के अधिकारी हैं। मैं फिर एक बार आप सबका धन्यवाद करता हूं। नमस्कार।
Well, that is Prime Minister Modi's address at the all-party meeting, where he heard out all the party presidents and chiefs who wanted to make points about the Indo-China clash. Remember, this was the meeting that the government, the Prime Minister had called on Wednesday for today to brief all the parties on what had really happened and what is it that the government is doing now. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, in fact, along with External Affairs Minister, were also present, and Rajnath Singh earlier also briefed the parties. Individually, we had reported earlier what the various political parties had said, but the big message coming from Prime Minister is that there was no intrusion into our territory by China, and that no Indian post was or has been taken by the Chinese soldiers. That's a very significant part in what he said there, apart from, of course, expressing the faith in Indian soldiers who are guarding us at the border. Viewers, this is largely our conversation point tonight as well. We've brought to you all aspects. We've given you all information that has been shared with us. We've told you the history, the geography, the dynamics of a war terrain like that in Ladakh, and got the biggest of the experts. But tonight we're going to ask our politicians, how is it that they see handling this situation? You heard from the Prime Minister right now, and Prime Minister in many ways is setting the tone for our conversation tonight here on the urban debate as well, where the Prime Minister has said now our Jawans can stop anybody and question them fearlessly. They have greater resources and manpower and positioning to monitor all locations. There were remote locations along the LAC or even the LOC, as we've seen in the past, which were not being constantly monitored, but that's not the case anymore. Obviously, a point that he's trying to drive that is similar to what Rajnath Singh, the defense minister, said earlier, that there was no intelligence failure. I want to actually quickly also take you through what some of the other parties said. And interestingly, here is what the Congress chief Sonia Gandhi said, that this meeting should have come sooner, that it's actually come way too late. We are still in dark with about a lot of things that have happened, and we have a lot of questions. She went on to then also ask when did the Chinese troops really intrude, and for how long have they been there? When did the government find out about these transgressions? Does the government not get satellite images? Was there a delay in really knowing and understanding? Did the intelligence not report about unusual activity? So some very clear-cut, direct questions being asked by the Congress chief there. But in effect, Congress was perhaps the only party to be putting out these direct questions and questioning the government on its action and the delay in the action and delay in sharing information, because almost everybody else, from NCP to TRS, even the TMC, and all the other parties who were present, from BJD to JDU, they all came out in support with the government and say that we stand united in this hour and we are all with our forces. Hardly anybody else had any tough questions or critical questions to ask the government. So which is why the question that I am asking tonight is that the Congress party really isolated in its stand against the China? I don't see other parties really coming out and trying to corner the government on this issue. Everybody believes that this is the time we should all stand together. So let's say good evening to our panelists. Rajiv Ranjan, spokesperson for the Janata Dal United, joins us this evening. Tuhin Sinha of the BJP. Tausif Khan, advocate, political analyst, and a TMC supporter, and Ravi Srivastava, founding member of the Aam Aadmi Party, also with us this evening. But first up, I think I want to go across to Aishwarya Mahadev, because Aishwarya Mahadev, it seems that at that meeting with so many big parties present, it was only the Congress that really had so many objections and questions for the government.
You know, Tanvi, the first thing I'd like to point out is asking questions is not undemocratic or anyway standing in the way of standing in support of the nation, because we have made it clear categorically from May 5th onwards, when the first reports of an incursion came in, that we will stand with the government. However, you owe us a basic duty of keeping us informed, of telling us the truth and what has been happening over time and time again. I think what should have been done last month has finally happened today. And I do congratulate the government of the day for finally coming out and putting out a statement, though contradictory to a lot of reports and what the Raksha Mantri has said over and over again. I don't think it's politicization to ask pertinent questions, especially when the government is not pointing out what is actually happening. Your news channels have been far more responsible in their reporting than the sort of information coming out of the government. And I think today there has been a little bit of clarity. However, there are a lot more things that have to be cleared out for us, because the lives of all our soldiers is something that matters to every single person, irrespective of political ideology, Tanvi. Yes, Tanvi.
Okay, so let me take that point and let me ask you one more question before I open it up to the panel. Is it really fair for any party to expect that the government's priority has to be to brief the opposition parties at a time like this, at a time when we are busy saving these soldiers, they are battling for their lives, at a time where multiple security and diplomatic issues have to be ironed out? Today, when they deemed fit, when they had all the answers, they came and gave the answers. So why is the Congress so upset that this wasn't done on Tuesday?
Tanvi, there used to be a time when all party meets during times of war and conflict involved so many people that we have sent international delegations with people like Mr. Vajpayee himself, even though he wasn't even in government. And when Prime Minister Narendra Modi talks about this idea of Ekta Ka Sandesh, I think the least he owes everybody, especially through democratic parties who have their own voter base and also cater to the voice of the nation, is keep them informed. Because what has happened is there is an exercise of denial. There is an exercise of basically, I wouldn't say cover up, but rather lack of information. And that has led to a trust deficit. We're saying we will support you no matter what, but sir, respect our rights and our voters and our people and citizens of India to tell us enough of what has happened. And Tanvi, in the past, whether mainstream media existed or not, this exercise has been carried out, where even Narasimha Rao's time, and also during Mrs. Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi's time, we've had people from the opposition also be integral parts of these missions of trying to resolve conflict. And I think the BJP could have basically risen above political, partisanship and done that in this situation, but they have not, and which is quite unfortunate, if I may be honest.
Okay. Let me also bring in our other panelists. A quick comment from Mr. Tuhin Sen of the BJP before we bring in Ravi Srivastava and Tausif Khan. Tuhin, why couldn't we have done this earlier?
Tanvi, there can't be a quick comment when you talk about the attitude of the Congress party, the present day Congress party. I know my fellow panelists, esteemed panelists, spoke about the virtue of Narasimha Rao when he had sent Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji for a UN General Assembly summit as India's heading the Indian side. But in the last 20 years, ever since Sonia Gandhi took over the Congress party, this is the fourth time when the Congress party has led down the country on a very important issue of national importance. And I can give you those instances. In 1998, after the Pokhran tests, the Congress had no response. And 10 days later, the first response from Sonia Gandhi was that our strength lies in restraint. That was a huge embarrassment for the country at a time when some of the countries had ganged up against the country. 2009, at Sharm el-Sheikh, Manmohan Singh had acceded to the then Prime Minister of Pakistan and allowed for the introspection of India's role in Balochistan. Number three, last year in August, after the abrogation of Article 370, just because the Congress party could not elect a new leader, Rahul Gandhi, at the end of a CWC meeting at late evening, he comes out and says there is bloodshed in Kashmir, which is an absolute lie. Imran Khan used that to peddle all kinds of fake stories about India across the globe. And this is the fourth instance when Rahul Gandhi, who has, I'm sure you are aware that the Congress party has a MOU with the CPC dated 2008 to discuss important issues. Has he ever called out the perfidy of the Chinese government? What happened on 15th June, the night of 15th June in Ladakh, was absolute fraud on the part of the Chinese authorities. They went back on the agreement, on the understanding which was arrived last week. But instead of calling out their bluff, which could have actually demonstrated the unity of Indians and of all Indian parties, he kept blaming the Modi government. I don't think the Modi government has hidden anything. And the very fact that within 2 days, we called an all-party meeting where a detailed presentation was made explaining everything. And the fact that the Prime Minister has categorically stated that not an inch of the Indian territory has been intruded explains everything. But the whole attitude, the whole premise of the Congress party
So I'm a
stems
little
out
confused.
of...
Tuin, I'm a little confused. If no one intruded, how did we lose 20 soldiers?
Tanvi, you need to understand that it's about the accumulation of Chinese forces at a certain strategic point in at Galwan. There is a particular stretch of land which nobody would enter into, which is in military terms between P4 and P8. Now the Chinese forces have been accumulating over there, which is not exactly Indian territory. It is nobody's land. It is nobody's land, but yes, I mean the Chinese nobody's land in the sense we don't our presence is also not there. But the fact that they are supposed to be beyond P4 was a bone of contention, and it was clearly agreed that barring this particular stretch, they had to anyway de-escalate tension and move away from other stretches. But when our forces saw a very unnatural accumulation of forces at this particular point, that is where they questioned them. And why wouldn't they question them? The very fact that infrastructure development by BRO has taken place on an unprecedented scale in the last 6 years is what has rattled the Chinese.
Okay. Well, initially the indication was that they were supposed to disengage. Instead, they attacked us. But now clearly the indication is that they had set up structures there, which we went to demolish, because why would we allow them to set up these structures, which were not on our land but in the no man's land? And that's where this happened. Okay, let me bring in our other panelists. Ravi Srivastava, is this a time to stand united? And by saying that we are standing united, does that mean that nobody really asked the government any questions?
Tanvi, standing united does not mean that you don't question your government. The BJP creates a narrative. If you ask the question to government, they immediately pass it on and say your army is being questioned, and try to prove more nationalist, more patriot than anybody else. My issue here is, if there was no escalation, then what for de-escalation was going on 6th of June? And why from 5th of May it was being told repeatedly that the Chinese have intruded into our territory? Today, Prime Minister says after 40 days that there is no intrusion, not even an inch of our land has been taken over, no post has been taken over, etc., etc. I think time will only prove it. I can only vouch that there are channels which have shown the clear-cut satellite images which have shown that the tanks, the structures are parked on the Indian side as well. There was a news that the de-escalation is going on, Chinese army is going back, and Indian army is also coming back. When they were in our territory, where was the need to Indian army to come back? I do not understand that. Now, point is, Honorable Prime Minister, in his 15 minutes address, did not utter the word China for saying that we are going to take any revenge for our 20 martyrs. What for have they lost their life? They quote some agreement of 1999. They were armed. If they were armed, then if somebody comes and a normal civilian, I'm not talking the army personnel, they are far more equipped, they are far more intelligent, they can act for defense. An ordinary man, if somebody comes and attacks on my life, I'm going to fire him back if I have got a weapon. I don't know that why, what stopped, what orders they had, they could not do it, but their precious lives were lost. What I want to say, Honorable Prime Minister first time realized that he needs a nation today. And that's why this all-party meet was called. Till such time, he was only thinking the nation needs a Prime Minister, so he comes at 8 o'clock and talks 15 minutes and goes away. This is unprecedented. We have seen a meeting happening after so much of skirmish, after 20 soldiers have lost their life. The Prime Minister is calling for an all-party meet. This should have been called the very moment any kind of skirmish would have started with the Chinese. May it be the 5th of May, may it be even earlier than that. That's what.
Okay. I take your point. Let me take it across to our other panelists, Mr. Raj. Yes, Ravi, let me take it across to Rajiv Ranjan ji. Rajiv Ranjan ji, क्या आपको क्या लगता है, क्या सरकार को ये मीटिंग पहले बुलानी चाहिए थी? क्यों रुके हम ये सिचुएशन यहाँ तक पहुँचने के लिए, जब 5 मई से वहाँ पे मूवमेंट हो रही है, दोनों तरह के सोल्जर्स मूव कर रहे हैं, तो क्या सरकार को पहले पार्टीज को इन्फॉर्म करना चाहिए था?
ये मुझे ऐसा लगता है फैसला पहले होता या आज मीटिंग के जरिए लोगों को एक जगह बातचीत करने के लिए बैठाया गया। दोनों परिस्थितियों में अपोजिशन का रवैया यही होता है। इतनी इरिस्पॉन्सिबल अपोजिशन दुनिया के किसी मुल्क में नहीं होगी। ऑन रिकॉर्ड प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने कुछ चीजों को बिल्कुल साफ साफ कह दिया कि आपका कोई पोस्ट चाइना ने कब्जा नहीं किया, हिंदुस्तान के 1 इंच जमीन पर उनका कब्जा नहीं है। और मुझे लगता है उसके बाद इस ऑफिशियल स्टैंड को पूरी दुनिया ने माना होगा, लेकिन हिंदुस्तान की अपोजिशन को इसमें आज भी शुभा है। मैं रवि श्रीवास्तव को भी सुन रहा था, मैंने कांग्रेस को भी सुना। मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि चाइना को आप इस नजरिए से जरूर देखें कि जिसने ऑस्ट्रेलिया से लेकर फिलीपींस तक और मालदीव से लेकर बांग्लादेश, नेपाल, तमाम जगहों पर हिंदुस्तान के खिलाफ ये जो साजिशों का जाल बिछाया, उसकी वजह क्या है? सबने धीरे धीरे उसके सामने घुटने टेके, लेकिन एक रीजनल सुपर पावर के तौर पर अगर हिंदुस्तान में उसको एक अपना कॉम्पिटिटर दिख रहा है, वो उसके लिए नाकाबिले बर्दाश्त है। और इसीलिए हिंदुस्तान को लेकर के उसका नजरिया बहुत ही ज्यादा दोहरे मानदंडों का है। व्यापार, तमाम सवालों पर हिंदुस्तान से उन्हें फायदे हैं, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं एक कसक है जो उनके मन में सिक्किम और अरुणाचल को लेकर है। दुनिया को हिंदुस्तान का अपोजिशन जिस तरह से रोते हुए दिख रहा है कि सब कुछ चाइना के पक्ष में, ऐसा नहीं है। हम लोगों ने काफी आत्मसम्मान के साथ चाइना को उनकी हैसियत बताई है और कई अवसरों पर चाइना की इतनी बड़ी ताकत, उनके मिलिट्री का जो साइज है, जो उनकी डिफेंस को लेकर के जो उनकी तैयारियां हैं, उनके मुकाबले प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का जो एक ग्लोबल लीडर के तौर पर जो उनका एक व्यक्तित्व उभर करके आया, उससे कहीं ना कहीं जिनपिंग या चाइना के को एक बड़ा सेटबैक भी दिखा है। और हिंदुस्तान इतना फ्लेक्सिबल है, यूएस और रशिया के साथ हमारे रिश्ते अलग अलग हिस्सों में होकर के भी अच्छे रिश्ते हैं, ये कहीं ना कहीं चीन के लिए परेशानियों का कारण भी है। इसलिए मैं समझता हूं पूरे पर्सपेक्टिव में अगर हिंदुस्तान के पूरे जो डिप्लोमेसी को लेकर के, जो स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप को लेकर के, जो हमारी जो तैयारियां हैं, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हम लोगों ने बॉर्डर पर डेवलप करने का काम किया, इन तमाम चीजों को अगर जब देखेंगे और उसके बाद प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जिस तरह से देश को आश्वस्त किया, जो आत्मविश्वास उनके चेहरे पर दिख रहा था, मैं समझता हूं देश को एक ऐसे राष्ट्र नायक की जरूरत है जो हर समय बिला वजह केवल
वो सही है,
चिंता करते हुए
वो
नहीं
सही
दिखे,
है,
वो
और
कुछ न
शायद
कुछ
इसीलिए
परिणाम
इसीलिए राजीव रंजन जी, इसीलिए प्रधानमंत्री को इतना सपोर्ट है इस देश में। आज भी उनको उतना ही सपोर्ट है, और लोग उनकी जो वो कहते हैं उनकी बात मानते हैं, वो सही है। लेकिन क्या सवाल पूछना पॉलिटिक्स है? ये है मेरा सवाल आज, कि अगर कोई पॉलिटिकल पार्टी पूछ रही है सवाल, तो क्या उसको पॉलिटिसाइजेशन बोल सकते हैं? क्या उसको ये बोल सकते हैं कि वो चाइना को सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं? क्यों ना पूछे सवाल। जब सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक हो गई थी तब आके यही सरकार ने अनाउंसमेंट की थी, तब तो बहुत सारी न्यूज़ कॉन्फ्रेंसेस हमने करी थी। तो अब अगर कुछ हुआ है हमारे साथ, और हमारे खुद के देश के जो जवान हैं उनकी जाने गई हैं, तो क्यों नहीं सरकार आके बताए? ये तो बताना ज़रूरी होता है। तो तौसीफ खान ऑफ द एडवोकेट पॉलिटिकल एनालिस्ट हैजंट स्पोकन सो फार। लेट मी गो टू हिम। राजीव रंजन जी, मैं वापस आपके पास आऊँगी। तौसीफ खान, वेयर डू यू स्टैंड ऑन दिस? देयर हैज़ टू बी अ डिफरेंस. Is it okay to all write questions, or if you start asking questions in times like this, is that politics? Is Congress resorting to politics today?
Of course not. It is the duty in a democracy. Unless we are not a democracy, I would say that Congress must, or anybody must not ask question if we are not a democracy, unlike China. Now, you see, everything that Prime Minister said today, I would really want to believe it. But then it fails a logic. 20 of our soldiers died. 10 of our soldiers were captured, were released today. And in the initial report, we had heard that 3 soldiers had died. Now we are not getting any clear communication from the authorities or from the government as to what really happened. At the end of all, today when finally Prime Minister has called an all-party meeting, at the end of the all-party meeting, he wants us to believe that there was no Chinese intrusion at all. That fails the logic. Then why did our Jawans lost our life for? Now, one of the spokesperson for BJP, he was saying that there was a Chinese troops concentration on no man's land. So this gentleman wants us to believe that our soldiers lost life for nothing. They died because the Chinese troop had come for a tourist for a tourism, and they had just they involved in some kind of brawl, and they casually lost 20 lives. I mean, this is very, very ridiculous. We all understand what is happening, but in spite of everything, we want to stand together with the government. We want to be seen as united with the government, in solidarity with the government, and we expect that this government will not commit any mistake in the future, starting from the point that there should be no commercial activities allowed by Chinese side. And the example of it would be, there should be not given entry in telecom, in railway, in aviation, which they plan to do in the future. So we need to, stand up, accept that yes, something had gone
just for
wrong.
my own understanding, are you saying only for future contracts, or does it include existing contracts? Because if we immediately stop all commercial activity with China, our economy may collapse.
No, that is a catch. It's a very good question. Every contract is determined by the contractual provisions. So if the government has to sit, have a proper discussion with the finance ministry or whichever companies, the PSUs, or if it is the private sector, they have entered into contract with the Chinese. They might want to sit and take a review and decide what they really want to do with that, as long as the existing contracts are concerned. But for future, at least we can have a very clear-cut idea that we do not want in future for award a contract, even if we built that Patel statue and it is actually made in China. We had awarded it cost 3,000 crore rupees, but it is not really made in India statue, and we really want to beat our Trump, and we want to say that we are going to take India to the world, and we want to make it.
Okay. I don't want to go down that road today. Mr. Tausif, you and I will have that debate another day. Let's come back to the point which is right now about what happened, the India-China clash, and the extent to which the government has shared information and what has been told. Now, let me go back to Tuhin Sinha. He may want to respond to what you just said. Tuhin, go ahead.
See, I'm going to respond to both Tausif and Ravi Srivastava. I want to quote something which the Prime Minister just said. The Prime Minister said, अब तक जिनको कोई पूछता नहीं था, कोई रोकता टोकता नहीं था, अब हमारे जवान डगर डगर पर उन्हें रोकते हैं, टोकते हैं तो तनाव बढ़ता है. Now, Tausif needs to understand that if there is an unnatural deployment of artillery, even if it happens on the Chinese side, what is the purpose? The purpose is to intimidate our forces. The purpose is to keep prying on the border construction, on the infrastructure development happening on our side. Why should we allow that? Is he fine with that? That has been the bone of contention, and that was the bone of contention again this time. Number two, Ravi Srivastava, inspired by his idol Rahul Gandhi, has been asking why did we not open fire? Now you need to understand that while there have been two treaties in place, one dated 1996 and the other dated 2005, which lays down certain guidelines why in such situations gunfire should not be resorted to, there is no hard and fast rule. The decision has to be taken at that point of time by the commanding officer, and it is entirely the prerogative of the commanding officer there. In this situation, we are given to understand that the commanding officer was martyred, so the entire onus or decision was on the person next in command. And if he felt that using artillery or using gunfire would have inflicted larger damage, he was entirely within his rights to take that decision. They need to understand these basics about defense mechanisms before they comment on everything.
Okay, first up, let Aishwarya Mahadev respond, and then I'll go across to Ravi Srivastava. Aishwarya.
Tuhin, for everything that you've said, there's one thing I really want to ask, and I hope you can clarify. Because at this point, there's a lot of confusion, right? This wouldn't have existed if you'd been clear from day one. So now Prime Minister Narendra Modi comes out and says, nobody crossed to our side, no post taken. So are you at some point making a concession that the Indians were the aggressors in this case? Because if that's what you're saying, then you're basically co-opting into China's story, which is saying the Indians intruded into our territory, right? And that's a very serious concession to make. But Prime Minister Narendra Modi just seems to have done that on a national platform, because how else do you explain soldiers dead, soldiers abducted, and also the use of fire and also armaments at the border? And then Tuhin very conveniently speaks about, all these diplomacy events previously. But Tuhin, why did our Prime Minister go to have interactions with the Chinese 9 times while the most number previously was only 2? And what was the results that were yielded out of it? Absolutely nothing. And Tuhin, the more important question I think you need to answer, at this point is, as much as you point fingers at us, the simple fact is, please tell us what has happened with who crossed over to whose borders. And that is the most important question we can ask at this point, because Prime Minister Narendra Modi seems to have conceded the Chinese line of argument. And this is something I really want him to answer, Tanvi, because that's what the Chinese is saying. That's what Prime Minister Narendra Modi is saying. So where did the people die from? Right? Did we cross over? Did we break the law? Did they break the law? What is the clarity on this?
Okay, do you want to clarify that one more time? Where did this happen, Tuhin Sinha?
Yeah, so the problem with the Congress is that it just doesn't have the ability to put forth intelligent questions. How many times, Aishwarya, have you been to that terrain? Are you aware of the ravines, or are you aware of the precipice over there? So many a times, let me once again reiterate, if you follow the satellite images from 5th May onwards, you can get those satellite images and study them in detail. At no point has there been a regular occupation beyond 4 or 5 days of Chinese troops. And even at the time of the major dialogue which happened between the military generals of both sides last week, there were 4 points which were under dispute, and they had clearly maintained that they would be de-escalating from 3 of those places.
So,
there was problem only in one area.
Meaning I have 20 martyred soldiers, that I have 10 abducted.
No, so okay. 1 minute, Aishwarya Mahadev, 1 minute. I am getting confused now. 1 minute, please. So, okay, they didn't enter our side. We didn't go to
So let me
Chinese
once
side.
again clarify.
Fair enough.
The satellite.
The LAC is not clearly defined. That's the reason for all of the confrontations that happened with China, because there is some lack of clarity on where exactly is the LAC drawn. It's very loosely demarcated. Okay, Tu In Sinha says there is a buffer zone in between, and that's where it probably happened. Now, if you are telling me to look at satellite imagery to see what was happening, wasn't that satellite imagery available with the government in the build up to this? That these many soldiers, this kind of build up has happened on the other side, and that we have fewer people here and we are trusting them to actually withdraw. Did we then trust them out of our naivety that they are going to withdraw, even though we could see what was happening on the other side, even though we knew they had built structures on the no man's land, as you claim the no man's land? If they had built structures, if they had brought in their armored vehicles, if they had brought in additional soldiers, were we being naive by believing that they will disengage and keeping our own forces there just exposed to them in such few numbers?
Okay, two quick points. Number one, I repeat, if you study the satellite images, wherever they had entered into our territory, it was for a period of 4 to 5 days at a max, and they were driven back in the last 45 days. Number two,
they entered our territory. Are you saying, Tu In Sinha, they entered our territory? The Prime Minister just told the country there was no intrusion. Now you're sitting here and telling me they entered our country.
No confirmation from the government. Can you show one confirmation from the government that they have withdrawn back?
No. Ravi, 1 minute please. Ravi, 1 minute please. I want to hear what Tu In Sinha is saying on this. Are you saying they entered our territory for 4 to 5 hours? It still counts as an intrusion.
The Honorable Prime Minister has spoken about the incident on 15th June. Right from 5th May onwards, if you even do a daily study of the satellite images, if at all Chinese forces had entered into a territory, that was at the max for a period of 4 to 5 days, and they were driven back. In fact, that was the reason why we had these conversations.
So how many times have they intruded? And at how many locations has this happened? And why did we still believe China and expose our troops on 15th of June?
What are you saying? If there is, after a day-long conversation last week, if there was a clear understanding of status quo where they would de-escalate from three places, and status quo would be maintained by them on one place, where India still believed that land was entirely theirs.
No, I am just asking questions because I am confused here. The MEA statement says we demolished China had erected illegal structures. Now, were they erecting illegal structures in no man's land or our land in that 4 to 5 hour period that they came to our land, or in no man's land? Is that considered as part of the 15th June incident or not?
See, we are sticking to our point. It was the P4 point at Galwan where they need to recede back to. They have reached a point of P8, which they are claiming their own, which is not their own, and whatever activity was happening was between P4 and P8. It's very clear it was not happening on the Indian side. That is an area where invariably nobody would man, and that is the point where they have further progressed to, and we are insisting that they go back to the P4 point. And this is only at Galwan. In all the other places, we have ensured that not an inch, they are not an inch into our territory.
Okay. Ravi Srivastava wanted to come in. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, allow me. What I'm saying is that all these Chinese are the most crooked people on this earth. They have proved it worldwide. Everybody knows it. Now, where was the question that when there was a discussion on de-escalation and all those things were happened, that where was the need our territory?
Okay, we seem to have lost that feed. Ravi, go ahead, please. We lost you in between. Yeah.
I'm on. What I'm saying is that which government body, MEA, military, Indian military or Chinese military has confirmed that Chinese had the casualties? हमारे प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा लोग मारते मारते मर गए. सर, किसको मारा ये तो कभी तक कंफर्म नहीं हुआ. किसी ने नहीं हामी भरी इस बात की कि उनके कितने जवान, कितने फौजी, कितने कर्नल, कितने मेजर शहीद हुए, मारे गए इस स्कर्मिश में, जबकि हमारे 20 लोग शहीद हुए और हमें नुकसान हुआ। अभी तक किसी ने नहीं कहा कि चाइना का ये नुकसान हुआ है। चाइना को कौन ट्रस्ट करता है? चाइना को ट्रस्ट प्रधानमंत्री खुद करते हैं, जो 9 बार उनके यहाँ पर जाते हैं, शिपिंग को बुला के यहाँ पर महाबलीपुरम में नारियल पानी और वाराणसी में वो आरती दिखाते हैं और साबरमती पे लेके जाते हैं। और आज ये जो बैन चाइना का रिहॉट्रिक चालू हुआ है, दिस इज टोटली इम्प्रैक्टिकल. It is not possible. We are totally dependent on Chinese import at the moment. It can be only with a slow process, and 3 to 5 years it can be reduced. It cannot be stopped just like that. So don't issue this kind of hollow threats.
Okay.
I wish that
I want
Prime
Mr.
Minister would
Rajiv
have used
Ranjan
the
to come
word
in at this point.
China
Mr. Rajiv
and
Ranjan.
warned him.
Mr. Rajiv Ranjan, respond to what Ravi Srivastava and Aishwarya Mahadev were saying. हाँ जी.
देखिए, मुझे ऐसा लगता है जिस तरह से हम बार बार अपने 20 शहीदों को तो निश्चित तौर पर श्रद्धांजलि दे रहे हैं अलग अलग राज्यों में, जिस तरह से लोग मरमाहत है, उसके बाद कुछ बाकी नहीं होता है। लेकिन चाइनीज साइड अगर ये नहीं कह रहा है कि उसके लोग नहीं मारे गए हैं, तो हम उस पर कैसे यकीन कर लेंगे? चाइना के प्रोपेगेंडा के आधार पर अब हिंदुस्तान के दावे को तो खारिज नहीं कर सकते हैं। और मुझे लगता है ये अपोजिशन चाइना के इतना करीब क्यों दिखने लगा है कि प्रधानमंत्री जी और देश के डिफेंस मिनिस्टर और आर्मी के दावे जो है, उन दावों को नकारते हुए ये बार बार ये सवाल खड़े कर रहे हैं। तो मुझे लगता है ये युद्ध की स्थिति अगर इस देश में है और इस समय ये जो पूरा का पूरा जो नजरिया है, इसको पूरी दुनिया को हैरानी हो रही होगी। अगर दुनिया के 2 मुल्कों में कभी अगर कंफ्लिक्ट उभर करके आया, युद्ध जैसे हालात पैदा हुए, तो पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज इस तरह से डिवाइडेड कहीं नहीं दिखे होंगे। ये एक मिसाल है। और मैं बार बार एक बात कहना चाहूंगा, ये 9 बार प्रधानमंत्री जी और जिनपिंग की मीटिंग हुई, चाइना प्रधानमंत्री जी गए, वो इंडियन चाइनीज प्रीमियर हिंदुस्तान आए। मैं ये कहता हूं कि 1954 में पंचशील समझौता के आर्किटेक्ट कौन थे? पंडित नेहरू थे, और उस समय के चाइनीज प्रीमियर चाउ एन लाई थे। चाइना ने क्या किया? हजारों किलोमीटर तक हिंदुस्तान के अंदर वो चले आए, और उन्होंने 1962 में भारत के साथ जो कुछ किया, उस इतिहास में मैं नहीं जाना चाहूंगा। लेकिन बार बार एक देश की जो हमारा जो इतिहास है, मैं उसकी चर्चा नहीं करना चाहता हूं, लेकिन अपोजिशन को भी ये समझना होगा कि अगर कहीं कोई गलती होती है तो देश से गलती होती है, किसी राजनीतिक दल से नहीं होती है। और मुझे लगता है ये अगर आप श्रेय लेते हैं तो कहीं ना कहीं
आप जो कह रहे हैं वो सही है, लेकिन रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी तो सरकार की होती है। सरकार को चुना ही इसलिए जाता है और डिसीजन उनको लेने होते हैं। और अगर
सरकार अपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी निभा रही है, एक भी 20 लोगों के अलावा जो मिसिंग के इंफॉर्मेशन थे उनको कंट्राडिक्ट किया गया, कोई पोस्ट चाइना ने नहीं हड़पा, इसकी पुष्टि हो गई। आपके 1 इंच जमीन पर उनका कब्जा नहीं। और एलएसी को लेकर के चाइना का ये खेल बहुत पहले से है, वो पहले घुसते हैं फिर पीछे लौटते हैं।
जी, अब सरकार तो यही बता रही है हमें कि 1 भी इंच हमारी जमीन गई नहीं है चाइना को। यही प्रधानमंत्री भी कह रहे हैं कि 1 भी इंच हमारी जमीन के अंदर आए नहीं, वो अब कभी भी नहीं आए या 15 जून को नहीं आए। इसमें थोड़ा डाउट तुहिन जी ने पैदा कर दिया है, बट मैं समय खत्म हो गया, completely out of time. I'm going to thank all of our panelists. Viewers, I don't believe if a party really asks questions, it should be targeted for that. But the questions must have merit to them. The questions must come out of genuine concern and not simply for politics. It is the responsibility of the government at one point to brief those in the parliament, members of our parliament, about what's going on when it comes to matters of national security. But that doesn't mean that the government immediately first resorts to doing that instead of handling the situation first. Now, we don't know how serious the situation was and how many hours it actually took for the government to get things in order. At the end of the day, 20 brave lives have been lost. And we must ensure that whatever it is has to be done in response, diplomatically, politically at a global level, economically or militarily. We leave it to the government to decide. It is the government's responsibility. Thank you so much for joining us on this debate.